There's a silent war happening every single morning, a battle that determines who rises and who stays asleep. Not just asleep in bed, but asleep in life. As the sun stretches across the skyline and paints the sky in fire, most people are still chasing shadows, hitting snooze, dismissing their own potential like it's an inconvenience. But there are a few, just a few, who wake with purpose burning in their chest, not because they're lucky, not because they're special, but because they decided to own their morning. And when you own your morning, you dominate your life. The truth is timeless. Every titan of history, every dreamer who carved their name into the stone of time understood this truth. Thomas Edison didn't stumble into invention. Carnegie didn't whisper his empire into existence. Lincoln didn't wait for the world to get easier. They forged habits in the silence of the early hours, before the world could steal their attention, before doubt had a chance to wake up. Morning is not just a time on the clock. It's a sacred realm of potential. It's the gateway between who you were and who you could become. Because let me tell you something, most people will never say aloud, how you do the morning is how you do everything. When you rise with clarity, intention, and force, you send a signal to the universe that you are no longer waiting. You are no longer hesitating. You are no longer tolerating the weight of a life unlived. Because if you don't claim your day, the world will. And the world does not care about your dreams. The world does not owe you motivation. It will drown you in noise. It will flood your soul with distractions, and the longer you delay the first hour, the more you give your power away. This is why the greats were never casual about their mornings. It's why warriors sharpened their swords before the battle, not during it. It's why Ford would spend the quiet hours thinking, planning, staring out into the horizon of what didn't yet exist. Not because he was chasing fortune, but because he knew one truth. If you don't dominate your environment, it dominates you. So ask yourself this: what's your first move when the alarm rings? Do you rise with purpose, or do you retreat in fear? Most people live in reaction. They check their phone before they check their thoughts. They scroll before they reflect. They give the world permission to dictate their mindset before they've even looked in the mirror. And this is why belief is the foundation. Because you cannot command your morning if you don't command your mind. Belief is the original currency of success. Not money, not fame, not connections, but belief, the unshakable internal decision that your life is yours to shape, that you are not a victim of circumstance, that you are not a passive participant in your own destiny. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose, a clarity so strong it becomes a magnetic force. But clarity begins in the quiet, and there is no quieter time than the moment you first open your eyes. So start there. Don't just wake up, come alive. Don't just move, command. Don't just plan, declare. The world has sold you a lie, that mornings are mundane, that discipline is painful, that structure is suffocating. But what they call structure, the visionaries called freedom, what they call sacrifice, the legends called alignment, and what they call boring, the elite called sacred. Because clarity is not a trait, it's a habit, and vision is not an accident, it's a muscle. When Walt Disney stared at a swamp and saw a kingdom, that was vision. When Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream," not "I have a plan," that was belief. When Helen Keller said, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision," that was truth. And none of them waited for perfect conditions. They created clarity in the chaos. They created mornings that reflected their mission. You must do the same, because the world is not asking for more of the same. It's asking for someone bold enough to set the tone, to plant their flag, to say, "This is who I am, and this is where I'm going." And it starts before the world is watching, before the lights are on, before the applause, before the opportunities come knocking. It starts when no one is watching, when your will is the only thing holding you upright, when your discipline becomes your identity. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. It says, "I will not betray my future for my comfort." It says, "I will choose what I want most over what I want now." It says, "This life will not be wasted, not on my watch." And morning is where it lives, not in loud declarations, but in quiet decisions. The decision to rise early, to master your breath before the world steals it, to write before the doubt has a chance to speak, to move your body before it forgets it was built to conquer, to be still before the noise begins. This is the real power, not hustle without vision, not movement without meaning, but alignment. And alignment comes when you give your first hour to purpose, not pressure. So stop waiting. Stop bargaining with the alarm clock. Stop acting like the morning owes you something. It owes you nothing, but it offers everything if you are willing to claim it. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be precise. You don't need motivation. You need ownership, because no one is coming to save your day. That job belongs to you, and the moment you choose to own your morning, you ignite the chain reaction that transforms everything else. Because momentum isn't found in lightning strikes. It's built in minutes, in moments, in the sacred silence between the time you rise and the time the world awakens. That is where your empire begins. Every morning you are given a choice to rise as the architect of your destiny or fall back into the default of delay. And every day you delay is a day stolen from your future. The people you admire, the ones who broke the mold, do you think they waited for permission to begin? They started before the conditions were perfect. They moved before motivation arrived. They decided with no applause, no guarantee, no safety net, because they knew clarity follows action, not the other way around. You're not confused. You're just undisciplined in the beginning. You don't lack purpose. You lack the morning rituals that reveal it. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you remember. It's already in you, buried beneath the noise, the doubt, the excuses. And every morning is a sacred excavation. You dig for it with silence. You uncover it with focus. You polish it with action, because action is where self-respect is born. You cannot hate a life you are building with intention. You cannot doubt yourself when you see yourself follow through. That's the secret the greats never told you. That success is not built in grand gestures, but in the invisible choices. The 5 a.m. workouts no one claps for. The cold showers that teach you resilience. The journaling that no one reads but heals you anyway. The vision boards that seem silly until the life appears. You want to dominate your life? Then stop outsourcing your power. Reclaim your responsibility. Because power is not about control over others. It's about control over yourself. The power to choose focus over distraction. The power to choose vision over validation. The power to say, this is my life. I build it. I own it. I lead it. No more waiting for a sign. You are the sign. No more asking for direction. You are the compass. Do you think Da Vinci waited for inspiration? He crafted his inspiration through obsession. Do you think Serena Williams became a legend by only training when she felt good? No. She mastered the morning long before the crowd knew her name. Greatness is not for the chosen. It is for the consistent. It's not a question of talent. It's a matter of ritual. Your results will never rise above the standards you set in silence. And the standard must be forged in the beginning of the day. Not when it's easy. Not when it's convenient. But when it's quiet. When it's sacred. When it's still yours. You have to understand this. You are in a relationship with your future self, and every morning you are either building trust or breaking it. You are either saying, I've got you, or saying, I'll get to you later. And just like any relationship, when you break that trust too many times, the connection fades. That's what people call losing motivation. No, it's losing self-trust. It's the pain of knowing you could be more, but aren't doing the work to meet that version of you. But that pain, that awareness, that is your invitation. Don't run from it. Lean into it. Because buried inside it is the fire you need to begin again. The morning is where you practice faith. Not religious faith, but faith in yourself. Faith that your actions matter. Faith that discipline compounds. Faith that doing what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching, is the highest form of alignment. Think about every time you said, I'll start tomorrow. Now ask, what if tomorrow is watching? What if your future self is begging you, pleading with you not to delay one more day? There's a reason the ancients rose with the sun. There's a reason monks begin with stillness. There's a reason Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day, not out of laziness but out of clarity. because when the morning is mastered, decisions disappear. You don't waste energy choosing, because the path is already chosen. You don't need to find motivation, because your movement creates it. You move and the emotion follows. You act and the inspiration appears. You build and the confidence grows. Don't let the simplicity fool you. What seems small is the seed of everything, the tiny hinge that swings the massive door, because the battle isn't just to get up, it's to become someone new when you do, to not just rise earlier, but to rise stronger, more deliberate, more focused, more aware. You must ask yourself, who am I becoming with this morning? Not just what I do, but what I reinforce, because repetition is not just practice, it's identity. The more you repeat something, the more it becomes who you are. You wake early not to be productive. You wake early to become the person who deserves the life you want. You journal not for the content, but to sharpen your mind. You train your body not for appearance, but for mental toughness. You read not to impress, but to awaken parts of your soul that have been asleep. This is sacred work. This is soul work, and it begins before anyone else can see it. Because the world does not reward your intentions, it rewards your preparation, and the morning is your proving ground, your time to rehearse greatness, to condition your nervous system for excellence, to train your eyes to see opportunity in the dark. You are not lost, you are simply undirected, and direction begins not with a map, but with a morning. You must reclaim the throne before the day begins. You must remember that the first victory is you versus you. And when you win that battle, the rest of the world bends to your will. You walk differently. You speak with more gravity. You attract what used to repel you, because you are no longer operating on borrowed energy. You are plugged into your own source. You have remembered who you are. That is what a powerful morning gives you. Not just time, but truth. Not just structure, but sovereignty. Not just a head start, but a soul ignited. This is your moment. Rise not just from sleep, but from silence, from fear, from stagnation, from delay. Rise not just into the day, but into your destiny, the one that's been calling you louder than the alarm clock ever could. Do you want change? Stop waiting for it to find you. The future doesn't chase the passive, it bows to the persistent, and it begins in the dark, before the sun kisses the sky, before anyone claps, congratulates, or even notices. It begins when you put your feet on the floor with conviction and whisper, "Today I lead," because every empire was once invisible. Every revolution began in silence. Every king, every queen, every architect of history started with a morning no one remembers, but they remembered and they honored it like a sacred ceremony. Own the first hour and the rest follows. You see, most people try to dominate the world while being dominated by their own thoughts. They run around putting out fires, chasing validation, scrolling away their soul one dopamine hit at a time, because they never took the time to build a mind that serves them. You must build that mind, brick by brick, habit by habit, and morning is your construction site. This is where you lay the foundation of belief. This is where you chisel away the doubt. This is where you install the internal compass that doesn't waver with distraction. Stop thinking the mind is some mysterious beast you can't tame. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it responds to how you train it. Train it with stillness. Train it with silence. Train it with intention. Train it when it wants to run, hide, or hit snooze, especially then. Because if you can command yourself when comfort screams loudest, you'll be unstoppable when pressure rises. Lincoln didn't find resilience on the battlefield. He built it in the solitude of failure. He lost elections, faced defeat, watched doors close, but he kept waking up, kept showing up, kept mastering his message, mastering himself. Why? Because he believed that purpose was greater than pain. Do you? Because if you don't, the morning will always feel heavy. You'll wake up as if life is a burden, not a blessing. You'll rise with resistance instead of readiness. But when you connect to purpose, everything changes. The alarm isn't an interruption, it's a summons, a call to arms, a declaration that you're still in the fight, still breathing, still chosen. And purpose doesn't have to be some grand declaration to the world. Sometimes it's just a quiet promise to yourself. I will not waste this breath. I will not waste this time. I will not die with this potential buried inside me, because if you're breathing, you're not finished. And if you're rising, you're still building. So build with fire. Build with intention. Build as if everything depends on this next decision, because it does. Everything is a signal. How you rise, how you breathe, how you speak to yourself before the world speaks to you. Do you whisper self-doubt, or do you declare power? Do you check notifications, or do you check your own temperature, your fire, your focus, your drive? Because the world will always give you a reason to react. But the greats, they create. They wake up not to see what's trending, but to set their own trend. They don't need a mood to create momentum. They create the mood through movement. And if you think this is about just getting things done, you've missed it entirely. This is about spiritual momentum, about emotional sovereignty, about mental clarity, about walking into the day so anchored, so aligned, so locked in, that even chaos can't shake your peace. And the only place you learn that level of presence is in the morning, before the world throws noise at you, before the problems start calling, before the demands pile up like bricks on your back. Own that hour and you carry your peace into battle. Lose it and you go into war with no armor. Don't just wake up early. Wake up on fire. Don't just meditate. Become the meditation. Don't just move your body, embody the movement. Don't just read the words, absorb them like oxygen. Don't just write your goals. Etch them into your soul. Every ritual you practice is either sharpening your sword or dulling your edge. There is no neutral habit. There is no neutral morning. You are either rising or falling, becoming sharper or slipping further into numbness. And numbness is the true enemy. Not fear, not failure, but that quiet, slow, soul-rotting numbness that comes from living out of alignment, from trading your potential for convenience, from waking up, going through the motions, and calling it life. That is not life. That is survival. And you were not born to survive. You were born to lead. But leadership starts within. Before you lead a company, a family, a movement, you must lead yourself. Can you lead yourself when no one is watching? Can you rise without applause? Can you keep your promise to your future when your present wants comfort? This is why the morning matters, because every decision you make before the sun is a message, not to the world but to yourself. A message that says, I can trust you. A message that says, we're still in alignment. A message that says, let's go further. You don't need another routine. You need a ritual with soul, a rhythm that aligns your body, mind, and mission, a sacred space where the world falls silent and your future gets loud, because the answers you're seeking aren't out there. They're in the morning, in the quiet, in the stillness, in the breath you take before the world intrudes. This is where the real work happens. This is where domination begins, not of the world but of self, not to control others, but to control your own inner chaos, to build a self that can't be shaken by noise, fear, or distraction. And once you build that, the rest of the world becomes light work. You'll walk differently, speak with more weight, make decisions faster, feel grounded when others are anxious. You won't be ruled by emotion. You'll use emotion as fuel, because you've done the work when it was dark, because you built when others were sleeping, because you rose when no one asked you to. And when you do that enough, the world begins to respond. Opportunities come, connections appear, doors open, not because you're lucky, but because you're ready. And readiness is a habit. Readiness is not an accident. It's not something that falls on your lap when the stars align. It's a consequence of the decisions you make when the world is still asleep. Understand this. The day does not start when the sun rises. The day starts when you rise. The real clock begins not at 7 a.m., but the moment you choose to be intentional. And most never choose. They drift. They wake up into their inbox, into someone else's priorities, into reaction, into chaos. They've surrendered their sovereignty before they've had their first sip of water. But not you. You're here because you've tasted what it's like to wake with fire, to begin with intention, to move like you mean it. And once you feel that, you can't go back. Because the version of you who dominates their life starts with owning their morning. And when you own it like a kingdom, everything shifts. You no longer ask, Can I do this? You say, I am doing this. Watch me. You no longer wait for motivation. You become the storm. You no longer fear discipline. You crave it because you've learned that freedom lives inside the walls of discipline. People think discipline is punishment, but the wise, the warriors, the builders of legacies, they know discipline is devotion. Devotion to a higher future, to a deeper self, to a version of you the world hasn't even met yet. When you choose discipline in the morning, you say, I'm no longer negotiating with my lower self. I'm no longer arguing with procrastination. I'm no longer making room for mediocrity. And discipline is not something you have or don't have. It's something you practice daily, deliberately, decisively. It is a choice, over and over. A choice to move through resistance, to override excuses, to live with intention instead of indulgence. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but so is regret. So is a life unlived. So is waking up at 70, 80, 90, and realizing you never gave your full self a chance. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. That's why you must embrace the discomfort of growth now, so you can taste the freedom of alignment later. The greatest achievers didn't get there by accident. They didn't stumble into discipline. They trained for it. They engineered their environment. They curated their mornings like artists. Thomas Edison didn't just experiment in the lab. He experimented with himself, with when he worked best, with how he structured his day, with how he optimized his energy. Walt Disney didn't just create characters. He created a mental world that he lived in before the world saw it. Every innovator, every master, every icon, they started by mastering the architecture of their day. And the blueprint begins the moment you wake. So what are you building? What kind of inner world are you constructing before the outer world even opens its eyes? You can either architect a life of power or default into a life of reaction. But you can't have both, because your life reflects the rituals you repeat. If you rise in chaos, you invite chaos. If you rise in discipline, you invite dominion. And I don't mean hustle for hustle's sake. I mean alignment. I mean moving with vision. I mean getting so clear on who you are, what you want, and why you're here, that nothing can shake you from it. And that clarity, it doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from doing, from moving, from writing, from sweating, from breathing with purpose, from pulling yourself out of bed when everything in you wants to shrink. Because every time you override that voice, the one that says just 10 more minutes, you're reminding your body who's in charge. That's how you build internal authority. That's how you silence the self-doubt. Not by talking back, but by outperforming it. By acting in a way that contradicts it so consistently, it has no choice but to retreat. Self-belief is not something you earn once. It's something you reaffirm every morning, through commitment, through movement, through the small, powerful acts of integrity that stack into character. You see, most people wait for a breakthrough, but the ones who win, they become the breakthrough. They stop hoping for a miracle and become the miracle. And that shift happens when you stop asking for life to be easier and instead rise with the courage to become stronger. This is what the morning trains in you, because the first battle is always within. It's not your schedule. It's not your phone. It's not your circumstances. It's your ability to lead yourself. Before you conquer your goals, conquer your emotions. Before you build your brand, build your backbone. Before you win the world, win the morning. Because when you win the morning, you win the inner game. And when the inner game is strong, the outer world bends. You'll stop chasing attention, because presence will be your power. You'll stop proving your worth, because purpose will be your guide. You'll stop fearing failure, because self-respect will be your fuel. And that's the paradox. You don't get stronger by avoiding discomfort. You get stronger by leaning into it, deliberately, daily, without complaint. When you run toward the hard things in the morning, life gets lighter. When you face your demons before breakfast, they lose their grip. When you push your body, expand your mind, center your spirit, before the world makes demands, you step into the day as a force, not a follower. So stop giving your mornings away to distraction. Stop handing your peace to the algorithm. Stop waking up as a prisoner. You are not here to scroll through life. You are here to sculpt it. And the chisel is in your hand every morning. You can wake up and consume, or you can wake up and create. You can be a consumer of chaos, or a conductor of clarity, but you cannot be both. Choose, with your alarm, with your breath, with your first thought, your first step, your first hour. And if you choose to rise with fire, to own your morning, you will not just change your schedule, you will change your life. And that change, it won't announce itself with fanfare. There won't be a standing ovation when you meditate in silence. No applause for drinking water instead of coffee. No fireworks when you journal instead of scroll. But make no mistake, those quiet victories are building your legacy. Because success doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides in habits. It grows in repetition. And every morning you choose intention over impulse, you become a little more unshakable. The people who change the world don't wait until they feel ready. They act themselves into readiness. They don't chase motivation. They build momentum. They don't wait for life to align. They align themselves regardless of what's happening out there, because they understand that greatness is never convenient. It is carved from the uncomfortable. It is extracted from the moments when average would quit. It is earned when no one is watching, and especially when no one cares. So if you're in that season now, where it's just you, your breath, your sweat, and your dreams, understand you are in the furnace. And that is exactly where greatness is forged. Do not resent the silence. Do not wish away the solitude. Do not despise the repetition. Repetition is not punishment. It is preparation. It is how you program excellence. It is how you build trust with yourself, layer by layer, breath by breath, day by day. Carnegie didn't become Carnegie in a moment of fame. He became Carnegie through years of silent study, tireless effort, and deliberate choices. He mastered himself before he ever built steel. Same with Ford. Same with Jobs. Same with Oprah. Same with you if you choose. That level of power, it's available, but it is not cheap. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you your laziness. It will cost you the version of you that wants easy wins and quick validation. You will have to bury that version of yourself in the morning, every morning, without mercy, because the higher self can't live in the same body as the old excuses. You cannot walk into destiny dragging your distractions with you. You must release them, replace them, transcend them. This is what the morning is for, to decide who you will be, to rehearse the future in real time, to take the vision from fantasy to frequency, something you live, not just something you dream. And if your vision doesn't scare you, stretch you, demand more of you, then it's not a vision, it's a memory. Your vision should pull you out of bed with urgency. It should chase your doubts back into the shadows. It should feel like a calling, not just a goal. And when you walk with a calling, the morning is not optional. It is mission critical. It is sacred ground. The meeting between you and your higher self. This is the time to sit with your soul, to listen, to align, to ask, who do I need to be today? What must die within me so I can rise? What does the next level of me demand from this moment? Because transformation doesn't begin with doing. It begins with being, with stepping into the identity that matches the life you say you want. Stop saying, I want success, and start being success. Stop saying, I want peace, and start being peace. Stop saying, I want to lead, and start leading yourself. You don't manifest by wishing. You manifest by becoming. So if you want more from life, you must demand more from yourself, not in a way that burns you out, but in a way that builds you up. This is not about adding more tasks. It's about removing what weakens you, what distracts you, what disconnects you from the source. And what is the source? It's clarity, clarity of vision, clarity of intention, clarity of identity. You are not lost. You are just cluttered. Too many voices, too many tabs open, too many borrowed dreams and inherited fears. The morning is your time to clear the static, to shut out the world, and tune in to what is true. And here is the truth. You are powerful beyond belief. You are capable of rewriting your story. You are not a victim of time. You are the author of how you use it. The world will tell you to hustle harder, to grind more, to sacrifice sleep, burn the candle, live on adrenaline. But the wise, they rise with rhythm, they move with grace, they build from a well that doesn't run dry, because they protect it. They start their day filled, not fractured. So stop romanticizing burnout. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a signal. You've abandoned yourself. You must return. Return to stillness. Return to center. Return to the sacred discipline of honoring your energy before you give it away. Because if you keep waking up for everyone else, eventually you'll forget what your own voice sounds like. This is why you must own your morning, because the world is loud, and if you don't ground yourself in silence, you'll live by the noise, and the noise will never tell you who you are. The noise will only echo your fears, your insecurities, your confusion. But the silence knows, and when you meet yourself in that silence, truly deeply, you remember what matters. You remember what you came for. You remember that you are not here to blend in, bow down, or break. You are here to build, to rise, to lead, to awaken others by the way you awaken yourself. But you can't lead if you're late to your own life. You can't lead if you're scrambling through the morning, reacting, apologizing, explaining. You must take the throne at the start of every day, without hesitation, without excuse. You must rise like it's your responsibility to bring your full self to this world, because it is. You are not here to merely exist. You are not a placeholder in this world. You were called with breath in your lungs and vision in your soul for something far greater than comfort. But destiny does not reward convenience. Destiny responds to the daring, and every morning is a dare, a challenge from life itself. Will you rise or will you repeat? Because while most are hitting snooze, life is watching. Opportunity is watching. The version of you you've been dreaming of is watching. And he's not inspired by your intentions. She's not moved by your someday. They are waiting for action. Now, this is not about being a morning person. This is about being a mission person. It's not about what time you wake up. It's about what you wake up for. The sun doesn't apologize for rising, and neither should you. There is power in declaring, this is my time, not tomorrow, not next month, now. Because nothing changes until you do. Not the calendar, not the schedule, not the world, you. And when you stop negotiating with your excuses, when you stop surrendering to small thinking, when you stop apologizing for wanting more, you become the axis your life revolves around. People will say, you've changed, and you will smile, because yes, you have. You changed when you chose clarity over comfort. You changed when you began investing in your peace like it was your greatest asset. You changed when you stopped waiting and started moving. And once that change begins, the world will shift to meet you. Doors will open. People will arrive. Energy will rise. Not because the world suddenly got easier, but because you became stronger. You'll find yourself making decisions with precision, speaking with conviction, moving with presence, no longer reacting but responding, no longer asking for validation, because your alignment will be your confidence, no longer drowning in comparison, because your clarity will be your compass, no longer fearing the unknown, because your purpose will light the path. And it all starts with a morning, a single one, owned completely, lived fully, held sacred. Because when you make your morning non-negotiable, you make your life non-negotiable. You stop tolerating the low standards you once survived in. You stop dancing with distractions that offer short-term pleasure but long-term pain. You stop being casual with your calling. And when you stop being casual, you start becoming crucial to your family, to your mission, to the world. You become the one who shows up when it's hard, the one who moves the needle, the one who creates ripple effects simply by being aligned. Because energy is contagious, and your discipline will awaken others. Your alignment will give people permission. Your example will spark revolutions in rooms you never even walk into. But that revolution starts in the dark, when no one is clapping, when it's just you, your breath, and the choice rise or repeat. Will you scroll or script your vision? Will you delay or declare? Will you hit snooze or summon your greatness? Because every morning is not just a time of day, it's a threshold, a sacred divide between the you that was and the you that will be. but you must cross it deliberately, and that takes courage. Courage to unplug from the narrative that says you're tired. Take it easy. Courage to rewrite the inner script that says you're not ready. Courage to take your power back from the story that told you to shrink. Because somewhere along the way they told you to wait, to be polite, to stay comfortable, to follow the rules. But the morning doesn't belong to the rule followers. The morning belongs to the rebels of mediocrity, to the architects of destiny, to the ones who've stopped waiting for permission and decided to give it to themselves. So wake up and write your manifesto with every step, every sip, every second of silence. Write it with your actions. Write it with your alignment. Write it with the refusal to waste another sunrise living someone else's life. This is your moment, right now, not in some motivational video, not in some future where you have time. Now, the life you want. It is not waiting in some far-off success seminar. It is buried in your daily decisions, your rituals, your habits, your mornings. You say you want confidence. Earn it in sweat and silence. You say you want freedom. Discipline is the key. You say you want purpose. Stop looking out there. Start looking in here. Because no calendar app will give you what presence will. No strategy will save you if your spirit isn't engaged. No hack will replace the raw, beautiful work of self-mastery. And self-mastery begins with self-leadership. And self-leadership begins the moment your alarm goes off. Don't just wake up. Wake up on fire. Wake up with resolve. Wake up with a declaration in your bones. I am not here to survive. I am not here to blend in. I am here to build, to lead, to ignite. And nothing, no excuse, no distraction, no delay can stop the one who has decided. That decision, it's everything. Because once you've decided, really decided, you've severed the cord to your old life. You've burned the bridges back to average. You've stepped fully into a new standard, one where you don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your rituals. And the morning, that's your sacred ritual. Not a checklist, not a productivity hack, but a ceremony of identity. The quiet moments where you align your intention with your actions. The stillness where you hear the voice beneath the noise. The repetition where greatness is not shouted, but whispered into existence. Because the difference between the dreamer and the doer is the decision to act before the world asks you to move without applause, to build when it's boring, to sow discipline where others sow distraction. You think it's luck? It's not. It's rhythm. It's consistency. It's showing up when it's raining, when you're tired, when it doesn't feel inspiring. Because inspiration doesn't lead action. Action leads inspiration. When you move, you stir the soul. When you act, the mind follows. When you command the day no longer commands you. This is how the giants lived. Lincoln didn't lead with ease. He led with inner resolve, sharpened in silence, tested by struggle, and forged in the fires of self-examination. Edison didn't invent the light bulb by luck. He failed thousands of times, but every failure was greeted by another morning of movement, another dawn of persistence, another declaration that I will try again because this is who I am. And that's what it all comes down to. Identity. Who are you in the morning? Are you the person who postpones purpose for comfort? Or are you the one who shows up regardless of how you feel? Because feelings lie. They shift with the wind. But decisions, those are sacred. And the decision to rise early, to own your mind before the world claims it, to ground yourself before the storms come, that's the decision that separates the common from the legendary. You don't need more time. You need more intensity with your time. You don't need a better strategy. You need better self-command. And that starts when the world is silent, when it's just you, the darkness, and your next move. So move with reverence. Treat the first hour like gold, because it is. Treat your breath like power, because it is. Treat your body like a vessel, because it carries your purpose. You are not random. You are not here to drift through life like a feather in the wind. You are the wind. You are the one who creates, who decides, who shapes the reality others walk through. But if you keep outsourcing your energy to comfort, to noise, to chaos, you'll wake up one day and realize you've built nothing but regret. And regret is the cost of ignoring your morning. So build something better, brick by brick, habit by habit, one aligned morning at a time. You see, we talk about discipline like it's hard. But what's hard is waking up 5 years from now and realizing you're still the same, still stuck in the same stories, still circling the same patterns, still waiting for the right time. The right time is when you wake up. That's the portal. That's the crack in the armor of your past. That's the exact moment when the old version of you is most vulnerable. So take advantage. Don't hesitate, because hesitation is a slow death, and nothing suffocates potential faster than hesitation. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, consistently, ruthlessly, honestly. Your greatness won't come from one massive leap. It will come from thousands of silent steps, from the alarm you don't ignore, from the breath you take before the world rushes in, from the choice to become before you perform. This is mastery. This is ownership. This is the path to domination. Not over others, but over the parts of yourself that once ruled you. The fear, the doubt, the laziness, the loop of maybe later. Those parts don't disappear on their own. They get overwritten through decisive action. And the morning is your blank page. So write something worthy, not for the world, but for your own soul. Because you know when you're aligned. You can feel it in your bones, in your posture, in the way you move through the day with quiet confidence. That kind of alignment is addictive. It changes your energy. It pulls new opportunities into your orbit. It unlocks doors you didn't even know existed, because now you're moving like someone who belongs in those rooms. But you don't get there by hoping. You get there by becoming. And becoming is a practice. It is slow. It is sacred. And it begins before sunrise. So tomorrow, when the alarm goes off, remember who you are. Remember what you came to do. Remember that the moment you open your eyes is the moment you set the tone for everything that follows. Win the morning, and the rest of the day bows to you. That's the truth they won't tell you in schools or meetings or scrolling feeds, that your life is a mirror of your mornings, that your mindset isn't random, it's rehearsed, that your energy isn't stolen, it's given away, and that power, it was never out there. It was always within you, buried beneath the choices you've tolerated. So let this be your line in the sand, the day you stopped hoping for change and became the change, the day you stopped chasing time and started commanding it, the day you stopped waiting for inspiration and became inspirational through action, alignment, and unwavering intention. From this moment forward, your morning is no longer a blur. It is your battlefield, your sanctuary, your sacred contract with destiny. You will wake with clarity, not confusion, with direction, not distraction, with purpose, not passivity. You will rise not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because every single morning you choose discipline over delay, you're voting for your future. You're casting a ballot for the life you say you want. And eventually, if you keep casting those votes, the world will have no choice but to elect you into the reality you were born for. But you can't cheat the process. There's no shortcut through silence, no hack for personal power, no bypass for becoming. You must go through it. You must earn it, through early hours, through quiet effort, through radical self-respect, because that's what this is. That's what owning your morning really means. It's not about ego. It's not about vanity. It's not about appearing productive. It's about self-respect, respecting your time, respecting your life enough to start it on your terms, not the world's. You are not here to check boxes. You are here to set fire, to disrupt the narrative that says you have to be tired, late, distracted, or overwhelmed. No, you are the writer now. You are the architect. And every morning is another blueprint, another chapter, another opportunity to build with precision. Because the day you dominate, that day begins with you dominating the first 10 minutes, before the notifications, before the demands, before the opinions of others try to program your mind. You are not a pawn. You are the player. You are the creator. And creators don't ask for perfect conditions. They create them. In the dark, in the cold, in the quiet. They rise when no one is watching. And that's why everyone watches when they rise. So when the next morning comes, and it will, and your mind says 5 more minutes, you will smile, because you'll know that's the voice of your former self, trying one last time to pull you back to average. And you'll respond, not with words but with movement, with breath, with action, with ownership, because you are done living life on autopilot. You are done being led by old patterns. You are done performing for a world that doesn't know what you were born to become. You're not here to impress, you're here to impact. And impact requires integrity with yourself first. Before you speak it, before you teach it, you live it. In the morning, when it's still dark, when it's just you and the mirror. That mirror doesn't lie. It shows you who you've been. But you get to decide who walks away from it. And the one who walks away, that version of you, they know what they're here to do. They don't waste time. They don't trade focus for comfort. They don't dim their light to keep others calm. They shine, unapologetically, boldly, because they've earned it, one sunrise at a time. So let the world sleep. Let the noise wait. Let the doubt dissolve in motion. This is your season of alignment, your era of expansion. And it starts with what you do before the world wakes up. Because while others drift into the day, you decide. While others search for purpose, you activate yours. While others wait to be chosen, you choose yourself. Again and again and again. Until your life is no longer a reaction to circumstance, but a reflection of design, of mastery, of deliberate creation. That is what owning your morning leads to. That is what transforms your days, and ultimately your destiny. Own your morning, and you will dominate your energy, dominate your focus, dominate your craft, dominate your influence, dominate your direction. Own your morning, and you will dominate your life, not because the world gave it to you, but because you built it from within, with grit, with grace, with relentless clarity, and one sunrise at a time. You became unstoppable. Now rise. It's your time. Let the world feel what happens when someone fully owns their morning and refuses to give it back forever.